Hey, everybody, welcome to Downballot Roundup in partnership with Leave No Dem Behind, where I introduce you to Democratic candidates running in local elections throughout the country. I'm Bryan Randolph, and today we are here with Ben Braver, who is running for Florida State Senate to represent the 23rd District. Hello, Ben. It is great to have you here today.
It's amazing to be here. Thank you so much. And I love what y'all are doing here.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for coming. Why don't we start with hearing a little bit about you?
So, I'm a teacher in Hillsborough County. I was a student in this same county, and the problems that were there when I was learning here are the same problems that are here when I'm teaching here. It's because we have those same old politicians. While I was in college just a few years ago, Governor DeSantis was taking away the abortion rights of my friends. He was attacking my education. And so we started a lot of protests. I was out there every single day on my college campus, registering people to vote, handing out contraceptives when these insane preachers would come over there and start yelling at people for having abortions or being gay. And then when Governor DeSantis stole the private health information of my friends, I started a protest, and we got 5,000 students and educators to walk out across every single university across Florida to say that we care about our education. We care about the integrity of it. Then I became the director of state and local policy for the Young Democrats of America, and I couldn't put politics down ever since.
Excellent. Fantastic. Well, will you tell me a little bit about your district? Tell me about District 23.
Yeah, it's the most beautiful place in America. We have a nice mix of rural and ex-urban and urban areas, a lot of farmland that are getting actively destroyed by my opponent's policies, where he actually doesn't let our local government regulate how much water is being polluted, how much our water is being polluted by these massive corporations. But we have three major cities in the area, and we need to invest in those downtown areas. We also need to invest more in our schools because we're building up massively, but just single family homes that require a lot of infrastructure with no schools and no fire stations to go along with them. So we put more public investment in there so we can have an actual communal community.
And I know that there's this sort of push me pull you going on in South Florida because more people are living there. There's a need for more infrastructure, but at the same time, as you build more, you destroy more habitat, you destroy more of the watershed, stuff like that. How do you approach that, and particularly with a Republican legislature that seems hell bent on killing regulations and cutting environmental regs?
Yeah, and the exact problem is that these Republicans are focused on short-term cancerous growth, right? Just exploding out into the wilderness as much as they can. What they fail to recognize is that when they destroy that wilderness, they destroy the water quality that we need to survive here. They sell out the people of Zephyr Hills to the water company, Zephyr Hills. And when we need more of those regulations to keep our homes from being destroyed every time a hurricane comes through. The homes that stayed here, the communities that were able to stay strong, were the ones built with our regulations. The communities that are prospering are the ones with a lot of public investment in them. But the Republicans have been trying to take that away as much as possible. When we have efficient growth that is actually sustainable, then we have a better economy for us all. But when we have this cancerous growth, that's when we have the highest inflation rate in the entire country. Because all they care about is their stock prices, not about what it's actually like to live here.
Now, as you're going out, I'm sure you're going out, meeting people, talking to people. Are you hearing, like, what issues are you hearing? And are you hearing that sort of message resonating with people?
So the first issue that the majority of voters care about in Florida is their home insurance prices. Because of that inefficient growth, our home insurance is going up 30% every single year. It's pricing people out of the state. But beyond that, just the cost of living in general. Every single person is talking about how they want their cost of living to go down because we had the highest inflation rate in the country. And it's because they've been deregulating those businesses and deregulating the codes that we use in our society. The message that resonates the most with people is the message I care about the most, which is bringing power back to workers, which is breaking up monopolies, freeing up our system and our society to work for the people, not for the richest among us. One thing that people think of as common knowledge in Florida politics is that we hate an income tax. That's not true, actually. Floridians understand that when all of our taxes come from sales tax and property taxes, that means the poorest pay the most. And in fact, the rich pay a fourth of the money and taxes as a proportion of their income that the poorest do. So the rich have been getting richer by making the poor poorer. We need to reverse that. People want to take power back to the people. That's by establishing Department of Labor. We have a Department of Citrus in Florida, but not a Department of Labor. It means freeing up our markets, regulating the monopolies that have been coming in and buying up all of our homes, turning what was a way to build wealth into just a rental property, way to drain wealth out of Florida. And we want to encourage entrepreneurship, not franchiseship. Because when just a Burger King is built on every single corner, that means the money we spend there is being drained out of Florida into the Burger King CEO's pockets. But when we have local businesses coming in to build up their own business, to create wealth for themselves, that's when we see Florida prosper. And that people care about that. They get that.
And so do you think that, because there's obviously Florida has been sort of ground zero for the culture war. Do you think, and some people are obviously falling for it, how do you feel, first of all, do you feel like people are falling for it over the other arguments? And do you feel that there's any sort of shift going on? How is that working out right now?
So that's exactly why DeSantis failed, because he went all in on the culture war. And while the systems that America is built on are absolutely designed to push minorities down and to make the rich richer while making the poor poorer, most Americans aren't homophobic. They're not racist. And while they might be able to get riled up by his insane rhetoric, once he goes really far, they can see that it's just ridiculous. And when you get people to calm down and just talk to you, they get to see you at a human level. Because we know that interacting on the internet gives you a level of anonymity that feels like a shield. And so you can let your worst thoughts fly. But when you get to talk to people on a personal level, then they stop caring as much about this culture war, because they start to realize that it's a distraction from the real economic issues that actually impact everybody's life. Abortion rights are something very close to my heart. LGBTQ rights are something very close to my heart. But when we have an economy that works for everybody, then those culture war issues take a huge step down to how much they affect you. Because if you're able to own a home, that matters a lot less whether or not the state is, well, not at that level. But when you're able to own a home, you can protect yourself. You feel more secure. And so those attacks have a lot less weight.
So one of the things that I've talked to a lot of people who are running these campaigns where they're in a very red area, but they're way out, in North Dakota. You are at least in Florida, and you were involved with the party. Are you feeling a lot of support from the party, or do you still feel like you're kind of putting this all together by yourself?
So unfortunately, a lot of the party has not abandoned Florida, but they don't see it as a real prospering place for the Democrats, and that's really sad to me because for every election up until the last one, we were within 2 points of winning the governorship. We were within 2 points of winning the state senate, the Senate office. What we need is massive investment and a focus on us, because we've had not great candidates running. Charlie Crist used to be a Republican, but he was running on the Democratic ticket. Now, what I've been saying for a long time is the Democrats understand that when we work together, we can achieve more, right? That is basic Democratic theory. They also understand that we lift from the bottom, everybody rises. Kamala Harris needs to be putting more money into down-ballot races, because we are the ones on the ground talking to people directly. And every vote that we turn out for us is a vote that we turn out for her. So if we lift it from the bottom, not just economically, but politically, we'd be able to have a clean sweep of every race. And as it sounds, optimistic, but I really believe that when we have good messaging about our policies, we can win. Because the Republicans get the easy message of no taxes. Democrats have to say, when we work together, we achieve higher heights than any of us could have done alone. And when we all message the same, when we have somebody from the top organizing us to work together, I truly believe the American people will come around. Because the Republican Party has turned away from the American people and just toward Trump. Trump doesn't care about anybody but himself. And the American people are starting to realize that. Which is why we need the Democrats to be more focused on down-ballot races. While I'd like more support, I have gotten quite a bit. and they all care about lifting up as many people as possible.
What do you think are a couple of steps that the DNC as a as a national party could do to start supporting these down ballot races? I think we're a little bit late in this session, but maybe before the midterms.
Graphics are incredibly easy to produce, and one thing the Harris campaign has been doing phenomenally is merging our graphics together. Anytime we post something, they say, yes, the Harris team is on board with you, and they give us some for images. And that shows people that we are a unified force. That's one great thing they could be doing. They could also just be putting more money into the state parties to be able to dole out to the local candidates, because a lot of these parties just don't have the resources that we need. One reason that Democrats actually don't have enough resources is because we don't scam old people as much as the Republicans. There was a great CNN report that just came out showing that Republicans have stolen hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars from old people with these shady practices. Democrats don't do that as much. We're not willing to play dirty. And I don't want the Democrats to play dirty. I want us to go high, and I want us to be proudly progressive. One problem I've had with the DNC lately is they haven't stood as proudly progressive as they need to. They've been trying to show up as Republican light. That's not the right mode. What we need to say is that we care about New Deal policies because that's what works to help people. We don't want to just be a little bit better than Donald Trump. We want to give you an America that'll work for everybody and that will make sure that no child goes hungry. We'll make sure no child doesn't know they're going to sleep that night, because we can make that happen as long as we be braver and tax the rich.
Braver, I like that.
Right?
That's good. So I have one more. I have two more questions for you. I'm running long, but I do want to give you a moment to address specifically. Could you give me a couple of issues where you and your opponent are really on the opposite sides? And I know I've seen something about radioactive roads, but which I have to ask. But also, just a couple of issues where you guys are just opposites on.
So I'll touch on the environment first. Luckily, in Florida, we have the most environmentally conscious Republicans of any state. And that's why when DeSantis tried to sell out our state parks, they fought back. And he told DeSantis, no, you're not a behemoth in Florida politics anymore. You can't do whatever you want. We care about protecting our water. We care about protecting our state. Because that's the last refuge for natural wildlife in Florida, those state parks. My opponent sponsored a bill to make it harder to sue for environmental protections. He sponsored the bill to get phosphorus into our roads, so that, which is a radioactive material. And the real problem with that is we get hurricanes that come through all the time, destroying our roads and putting that into our water supply. We are also very far apart on abortion. Now, I got to say, my opponent, if you talk to him, he's affable. He's a nice guy. And when we talked, I told him, look, I cannot abide by your stance on abortion. You believe that it just shouldn't exist, that it should not be in Florida. You don't want women to have their rights. And he said, you're right. And I will stand by that every single day. I don't care if it costs me my next election. I will not vote for choice. He said that on the Senate floor, too. And it's just a position that is monstrous. I mean, it is taking away bodily autonomy from people. It's making their choices for them and destroying their lives. I'll give a point where we stand close together on insurance. He tried to pass some good stuff on car insurance. It did not go through. But he's not going far enough on home insurance, which, as we were talking about, is one of the worst issues affecting the people of Florida. When the home insurance crisis was, it's still happening, but when it was in its major upswing, he sponsored bills to deregulate, or he voted for bills to deregulate the insurance market and tried to help that go forward because he thinks that deregulating businesses will somehow make them want to help the people, which we know is not true.
Never. That never works out well. I've made several videos on deregulation and why it's always never a good thing. All right, so now we're at my last question. This is my favorite question. I call it my softball question. I would like you to tell me something about District 23 that makes it special to you.
That makes it special to me. I grew up here. I spent a lot of my life here, and I think that what makes it special is what people think. When the people think about Florida, they think about the beaches, right? What they don't see are the beautiful pastures that we have. If you go to Dade City, if you go to Zephyr Hills or Plant City, you can see these small towns right in the middle of huge pasture lands. And it is incredible. If we had more investment for those small towns, if we had public transportation for them, we could make them prosper so much more, and we could see them really thrive. And we could see the beauty of the natural land, the beauty of our community coincide and really just spark something amazing. But even without the investment that we need, those small towns have a thriving community that I love to see every single day. And some people will tell me, like, you're going to Plant City, that's incredibly Republican. When I go there and I talk to the people, and I talk to them about monopolies stealing their money, I talk to them about the Republicans destroying their land, they agree. And it's just the messaging that was convincing them to be Republican. But they know what their town is worth, they know what their land is worth. And we know that together we can achieve more and make us all prosper for longer.
Ben Braver is running for the Florida Senate to represent District 23. Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it, and best of luck.
Thank you so much, Bryan. And I want to say, this kind of stuff is incredibly important because, as I was talking about, when we work together, we achieve more. Showing these down ballot races is a necessary thing to do because this is what affects people's day-to-day life the most. So I really appreciate what you're doing here.
Well, thank you so much for coming.